And welcome everyone to another episode of the Best Phone Plans Podcast. Today, I have an extra special guest. It's the man, the myth, the legend himself, Peter Adderton. So Peter, he is the original founder of Boost Mobile, and he's coming out with a new and super exciting MVNO known as MobileX. For our longtime fans who watched the original episode that he was on way back in March 25th, you'll know that Peter's trying to do some game-changing things. But Peter, let me start by asking the general question that Stetson always asks me. How you doing today?
Mate, we're going well, going really, really well. So, life's good. We got through COVID. We're all still here. So I guess that's a positive.
That's definitely good to hear. So, Peter, when you were last on, one of the big things that you were talking about with MobileX was this concept of, and you've been vocal on Twitter about it too, pay for what you use, like this pay-per-use model. Can you tell me how that's going to work now that we're a little bit longer into the development process for MobileX and how that's going to be different from other pay-per-use models we've seen before?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's been a big frustration of mine, as you know, that people are basically buying data that they don't need. They basically have to be Nostradamus to try to guess what kind of data they're going to need at any given point, any given month. So, some people might use, 1 or 2 gigs one month, and then they might use 8 gigs the next month. The problem is you get to play that flat line of, whether it's a 5 gig or a 10 gig plan, and then there's all those costs that go on if you go over. So people aren't good at predicting, and they shouldn't be good at predicting their usage. They basically should be paying for what they need. So we went away to build a model that allows people to be able to do that, to basically just buy what you need. Now, in saying that, it's a lot easier to say than it is actually to do that. And I think what we've found with our platform is to get real-time billing, to get real-time consumption data, to get all the information that you require out of a network to be able to deliver on that promise has probably been the biggest challenge for us and our carrier partners. So, when I go away and say we want to try to be open and honest and upfront with the customer, that's exactly what we're going to do. But I want to make sure that I deliver on that. So I don't want to go out, make a promise and go out and then basically have a service that everybody sits back and goes, well, that's not exactly what you said. So that's why we're driven to make that happen. But I will say that we are a platform company. Now, I said this before and people kind of, question me. We are not a traditional MVNO, right? We are a platform. We're 100% a public cloud platform that's a global platform that allows you to be able to move back and forth through networks around the globe, giving you the exact same experience. And so we want to make sure that we do deliver on that promise. I don't want people to have to guess how much data they need. I think that there are certain people who require a huge amount of data, which I would argue an MVNO is not great for. But there are then other people that require the right amount of data at the exact right amount of time. And I think that that's what we want to be able to deliver. And I think, I'm obviously using the app right now, and I'm using the platform right now. And I am super, super excited. I just want to show people what we've got to start getting their feedback, because I think we're going to open a lot of people's minds up, and we have a very disruptive pricing model that I think people are going to be happy with. So look, it's not for everyone. I want to make it clear that the platform, there's no platform built for everybody. It's not for everybody, but I think for the majority of people, our platform is going to save them a significant amount of money.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm trying to understand though is like the pay-as-you-go has been tried before by other companies to various levels of execution, right? I'm trying to understand how your revision on this concept is going to be unique or different from what we've seen before. Like, can you give like a detailed reason why this version of pay as you go is better than, say, someone mentioned Google Fi in the comments, and or something like a Ting or anybody like that? Like, can you tell us why this specific version is better than anybody else's?
So you've got to take a step back, right? And you've got to look at the technology that provides the experience, right? And so when you look at the traditional MVNOs or MVNEs that enable this, there are a lot of hooks into the network that they have that won't allow them to do what we needed to do. So the reason why it's taken us longer than we would have liked is that we basically have to re-engineer the integration into the networks to be able to give us the ability to be able to real-time look at your consumption data to be able to make sure we can monitor that and provide that down at the kilobytes. So everybody else that's gone before us has basically done a patchwork of the pay-as-you-go, right? And so it's been a patchwork. You still have to commit to a certain plan, right? And then what they might do is they might right-size you at the end of the month and do a rollover of that data, right? But no one's got the ability to be able to predict what you're using and then in real time be able to assess what you're using so you don't have that sticker shock at the end of the month. So there are a lot of variables that take place, but a lot of it is the integration into the carrier, right? To get the carrier to allow us to be able to do what we need to do to make this work. That's probably been our biggest challenge, but by the way, our biggest reward as well when we come out with this thing. So I think when people see what we've been able to build and develop and the flexibility, the customization, like just the ability that you have basic unfettered control of what you want to do, right? Based on your speeds, based on your network, based on every aspect of the experience that you have, you as a consumer can either leave it to us to automate or you can do it. You can decide what you want, when you want it, how you want it. And so we've tried to make it as flexible as we possibly can. And I think that that's the difference. And I think the difference will be when consumers see it, again, they're going to be consumers like me who basically just want to use it and have fun with it and basically just set and forget it and let the AI machine learning platform help them understand what their usage is and then provide that. But then there's going to be guys like, you, Dennis, who basically is going to want to play around with it and you want to have control. So I hear everyone talk about control of speed of network, video quality, all those things. Well, what if I gave you all those tools for you to decide? I think that to me gives you the flexibility that just doesn't exist today. And that's why it's taking us a little bit longer, but I want to make sure that it's right and not rush it.
So you talk about the integrations necessary with your carrier partners. Is this level of, real-time tracking one of the primary reasons why you end up going with Verizon, at least domestically here in the U.S.? Or can you talk about why you picked Verizon over some of the other MNOs for your...
So I've been fairly critical on the whole 5G movement that's out there in the marketplace and the value add that brings to a consumer on a smartphone. Look, enterprise, that might be slightly different, but for the consumer, which is what I care about, I care about coverage, right? The only thing that a consumer cares about, there's no point having the fastest, greatest network in the world if you can't get connected to it, right? And so when I sat back and looked at it, I wanted the best coverage for our customers. People churn for two reasons, right? They churn because of price, right? There's 36 million customers every year that's basically churning out of prepaid, looking for a better price, and they churn because of coverage. And so we wanted the best network at the best price because we thought those two combinations would deliver us. We don't get caught up in the Magenta hype, and we don't get caught up in the AT&T hype. We look at the facts, and the facts are coverage. That's what matters, and Verizon still has the best coverage, and so that's why we wanted to go after that brand.
Gotcha. And on another note, I know you've been critical about 5G, especially on Twitter. And one of the things that you actually touched on in your Twitter post was the suggestion of offering dedicated speed tiers or guaranteed speed tiers. Is that something you're considering as a potential possibility to offer on your platform? Because if so, that would make you very unique. Have you considered that idea?
Well, without giving away the secret sauce, I think I kind of told you at the beginning that you'll have the ability to decide what you want, when you want, what experience you want. But I tell people that you can't expect to get something that somebody else is paying less for, and you want a better experience and not pay more for that, right? And so what I really wanted to make sure is that, and the other thing also is you don't necessarily need that hyper speed all the time, right? You may need it for one specific hour or one specific task that you want to be able to do, but you don't want to be paying for it 24/7. So I think that the flexibility that we're going to put into the network is going to allow you the tools and control to decide what you want. Now, having said that, if you don't want to deal with all that and you're not tech savvy and you don't want to have the tools, you can just set and forget it. And that's one of the things where I think the majority of people will probably just say, okay, how much am I paying? Fantastic. Paying for what I use. That's fantastic. That's great. Now just go take care of it for me. And then there'll be other people who say, you know what? I want to play around. I want the speed boost. I want to change resolutions. I want to do this to be able to extend my experience.
Gotcha. And also, I think we should address welcome, Sneed. Thank you for joining the show.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
Do you have any questions for Peter? I know you were especially critical from what you've heard.
I have a ton of questions for Peter, but I do want to say hello. Peter, I follow you on Twitter. We've interacted a couple of times. My name is Sneed from Sneed Mobile Tech.
Yeah, no, I know, Steve.
So yeah, so I follow you, and you're a great follow on Twitter, by the way. I actually appreciate and love the way that you attack the mobile industry. We know that there's a status quo to the industry. So you already have the support of a lot of people that know who you are and know what you want to accomplish. So you don't have to win them over. I think where you're going to probably have to do some winning over is going to be trying to get people to understand what your company does and how they distinguish themselves. So what I was going to ask is, how much convincing does the typical average US mobile user, how much convincing do they need to, if you're going to try to pry them away from AT&T, T-Mobile, or Verizon?
It's one of our biggest challenges, Steve, and you've brought that up. I thought one of our biggest challenges would be the technology of building this to be able to provide the service. And as we go through this, the brainwashing that has taken place in this market has just been horrific. I mean, to be totally honest with you, we've got a bunch of zombies walking around the country because the carriers have created that zombie mentality.
It's 30 years of conditioning, Peter.
It has, and it starts back in the 2G, 3G, and by the way, they haven't changed. They continue to keep conditioning them. And so that is really a big challenge for us. And we know that. And that's one of the things that we have to kind of unbrainwash them. The carriers have convinced them, basically based on 3G, when we used to get all those overages, right, where you get all these bills, that you need these unlimited plans because there's this safety net, this security of I need it just in case I go over. When everybody knows that the chances of you going over the usage of the unlimited plan that they offer you is very, very small. But people want this security of I'd rather be overpaying and not getting hit with a bill, excess bill. But that's not how it works. That's how it worked in 3G, and it's kind of how it worked in 4G. But as we move forward into these 5G networks, which is basically going to give us ultra capacity, more capacity than we've ever had, and then you bolt Dish onto that, who basically is going to open up, we're going to have a 12-lane highway with 3 lanes of traffic, right? And so what you're going to have is you're going to have prices per gig coming down. And so what we've tried to build for, preempt for, is the ability to show people that you don't need to be buying unlimited when you don't use unlimited. Now, there are people that use unlimited, right? And we understand that, but they're a very small portion of the market. And so what we are saying is, let us build something for you that is tailor-made for you. And I think that that's going to be our biggest challenge. We've got some marketing and initiatives, which I think are pretty unique. And but you're right. Our biggest challenge is to get people to say, well, what's the catch, right? There must be a catch. I mean, there's always a hook. You guys in the industry are always convincing us we have unlimited when we know that it's not unlimited, right? You're always convincing us to buy these free phones when we know that they're not free. But we all want to believe they're free because you said they were free. We want to believe that it was unlimited because you said it was unlimited. Even though you're lying to us, we still believe you. And so that's a real challenge.
So Peter,
doesn't happen in any other industry but mobile.
I have to ask you this. There are a lot of brands. Whose customers are you going to take? Are you going to take the traditional MNO, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile postpaid, or are you going to take MVNO, or are you going to take urban prepaid, for example, Boost, Cricket, Metro? Who are you going to take from?
So we don't discriminate here at MobileX. So, my attitude is that we basically build a platform for everybody. I probably would think that the people that are burning huge amounts of gigabytes running speed tests like you guys probably aren't going to be our customer base. But I think if you're burning less than 20 gigs per month, I think we're going to be for you. And I think that that's a large portion of the customer base. Again, we're not trying to promise you something that you don't want. And by the way, the increments that we sell data in is going to be unique as well. So we're not rounding it up to a 4 gig or a 5 gig plan or a 1 gig plan. We've got some pretty unique things there where, if you take a 1 gig plan, right, from Boost, which I think is, $10 or whatever the price is. Once you exceed that 1 gigabyte, right, they either slow you down or you've got to buy a gig at $5.
And the rate is high.
Right? Yeah, and the rate is high.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, what if I use 5.1 or 5.2, right? Well, that's okay. And so when people see what we're doing and how we're doing it, they will get it. The consumers will get it. I've got to get it out there, but I think that we've got some pretty unique ways to be able to do that. And hopefully you guys will look at the platform and go, hang on, this is unique. And it is very, very unique. The pricing model is extremely unique. So I think we've got some hooks, but look, there's no doubt I've got a massive challenge in front of me in being able to convince people.
So there's so much to unpack there, but I want to focus on the actual who you're taking from. Like right now, the most recent thing we've been seeing in the industry has been having great success for the MNOs as well as cable is this resurgence of these bundle offers that really make people sticky. So you got your Comcast tying in this incredible discount on the internet when you get their mobile. You got Verizon going big on their fixed wireless, T-Mobile going big on their fixed wireless. Has that cause you to rethink your strategy on how you're going to take from these customer bases? Because as time continues to go on while we wait for the platform, it really seems like the industry is more so solidifying more than ever into unlimited for everybody and bundles are the way. And we know that the more products a customer has with a certain company, the harder they're going to be to switch.
Yeah, the irony is that everyone talks about the cable guys, yet they're limited in their market scope of where they can be, and they don't sell prepaid. So, I sit back and go, I don't really see the cable guys as our competitors. They're also a more affluent. In fact, I reckon they're stealing probably mostly from Verizon and AT&T. So I would actually argue it's just, Verizon moving their retail subs across to the wholesale platform is what Comcast and I don't know how much longer that if I'm over there at Verizon, I'm going to allow that transition of customers from retail to wholesale. So I don't see that as our market. Look, I do see people that are buying Magenta plans that are basically spending they're using less than 20 gigabytes. They don't need to be on Magenta, right? And now the only reason why they're on Magenta is because T-Mobile's convinced them that for some unknown reason, they're going to go over, even though they don't, and they never will. Look, these companies don't make money by selling you exactly what you need. They make money by selling you what they know you don't need.
Peter,
right?
are you gonna attack the Essentials plan?
I'm going to attack every plan. I'm going to attack every plan that is overcharging a customer for something that they don't need. And the problem you've got is, think about it, I've been in the industry for 20 years. Here's how it works, right? So the carrier sits down and says, okay, we're going to look at the pricing people come in, right? So the finance team comes in and the pricing guys. They come in and they start out not with the consumer in mind. They look at, okay, how much spectrum do we have? How much network? What's our OpEx? What's our CapEx? Okay, what do we need to make on the margin, right? So they then put the pricing plan in. That then goes to the retailer or to the master agent, the retailer. Now, the retailer and master agent is basically designed to make as much money as they possibly can. So their job is to sell you the highest plan. Why? Because their commission structure is based around getting you. So when you walk through the door, it's a classic example. I had a friend of mine the other day go into an AT&T store. And I said, you know what? 18 years old, you've never done this before. Go in and buy a rate plan. Like been on the mum and dad's plan. Go in and buy one. Came out 10 minutes later, totally confused. Like, I don't know what to buy. They're telling me I have to get a phone. I don't know. I'm hooking up for this thing. They're running a check. I don't know. I gave them the MobileX app to test. Within 30 seconds, they're like, I can understand why this is going to be successful, right? Because we did it all for them, right? And so that's what we want to be able to do is bring that simplicity. So my attitude is we're going after everybody. And I think we're going to try to break down that. But as I said, these guys are incentivized. I mean, I love this Netflix on us, right? We're going to give you Disney Plus. Nothing is on us. It is on you, right? Their EBITDA margins. I mean, the classic example of how much money these guys were making or not making is look what happened when COVID hit. Go and look at the EBITDA number related to global roaming, right? That was wiped out, right? There were hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of EBITDA for these carriers that were gone in global roaming, right? Which is class in my opinion, right? Yeah. So we're gonna upset that apple cart, by the way, on global roaming, right? And so I sit back and go, why do I have to leave the country, still pay as if I'm in the country, and then they pat me on the back and like they're doing me a favor by charging me an extra $5 or $10 a day, $70 a week for international roaming. So I'm paying while I live in America, but I'm not there anymore. And now I'm paying. And by the way, gigabyte rates outside of America, which most Americans don't know, are half the price that Americans charge. So they're using American pricing I'm paying in America, and then I go to Europe or any of the other countries, and now I'm paying this extra $10 a day, and they're patting themselves on the back for it. It is pure margin. It is a pure ripoff, and customers and consumers have got to stop paying it. And I think we're going to be able to give them a reason not to.
So, Peter, one of the big problems that I feel like you're going to face as a new MVNO into the scene is that, that appearance in consumers' eyes, knowing that you even, for lack of a better term, exist. Most MVNOs, when they start out, they tend to do a direct-to-consumer model, online-only type of deal. But we've also seen a lot of MVNOs now pushing to retail. Mint Mobile is an example. And now that they have like a presence in Target with their prepaid SIMs, I believe US Mobile is starting to make a push as well. Do you have any plans to incorporate retail into your strategy, similarly to how you did when you had Boost Mobile?
So I've always been a big believer that retail first, digital second, right? That's the market that we're in today. And the carriers have always been pushing digital first because they're trying to look at ways of reducing costs. Retail has always been an important part. I mean, I've basically spent the last 20 years building indirect channels through the Boost business. And I've also spent the last 3 years fighting for Metro, Boost, dealers who are being basically screwed by the carrier, by T-Mobile around that merger. So, no, it's important. But, I do say this to the dealers that I talk to and the retailers that I talk to is that, everybody's innovating right now. And if you don't innovate, you will end up dying, right? And it doesn't matter whether I support you or whether T-Mobile supports you or Verizon. You're going to have to look at your current model, and your current model is broken, right? Getting these free handsets, getting spiffs, the arbitrage that goes on, the fraud that goes on, the scamming that goes on, all that stuff needs to end, right? And so, and it's been there, and carriers have allowed it, right? But basically, Marcelo and the guys at Sprint allowed it because they were basically looking to get as many subs as they possibly could because their bonuses were tied to it. So they basically did a free-for-all of trying to get anybody and everybody they could, opening stores left, right, and center, giving spiffs where people were basically, scamming them. And the system existed that way, and it was gamed, right? The retailers were gaming the system, and it wasn't that they created it, right? The carriers created it, but now that has to end. So when we go into retail, we're creating, I think, an innovative way for them to be able to show that they have experience, show that they offer value. And as I say to all these dealers, if somebody's going online, right, it's because their experience is better than what you provided them at retail, right? So provide a better experience at retail, give a better value to the customer, and give them a reason to come into you, not just this online versus retail battle that seems to be going on. So I have a very different approach to that.
Can I do a follow-up on retail real quick?
Yeah.
Will we see retail locations for MobileX in 2022?
Specifically, MobileX retail locations?
Yeah.
Like exclusive? No. By the way, I've never been a believer in exclusivity for a retail outlet. I think it's very hard on a dealer because the dealer's basically now relying on, you take Boost as an example, right? The dealer's basically relying on Dish, who, by the way, they didn't sign up to. They signed up to basically Nextel, then they signed up to Sprint, and now they're signed up to Dish. If Dish invests no money, which it looks like what they're doing with Boost, and basically don't really care that much about it, the dealer is left in the carnage that's being left. So I've never believed that if I owned a retail store, that I would like to be able to have multiple services and then let the product sell itself. So if our product is better than a Metro or better than a Boost or a T-Mobile, then we win that customer. So this concept of exclusive doors, I think, is a broken model. Now, if you're a big carrier and you don't really care, that's fine. You can put the money behind that. But I think that giving people a choice, and if I'm a dealer, giving me a choice of having, a couple of different brands, 2 or 3 brands in there, I think is important.
So I think my follow-up question is going to be, is someone going to be able to walk into some building somewhere with multi-purpose businesses, whatever the setup is, are they going to be able to go into a retail facility that is MobileX in 2022?
Yes, absolutely. But there's one step before that, and that is, what is the experience, right? So today, when you walk in, it's one of our other challenges over and above the consumers. When you walk in today, they've got 3 or 4 plans. You want the 50, you want the 60, you want the 70. What plan do you want? When you don't actually have a plan, and you don't actually offer a plan, and every plan is customized to the individual, right? That's a very, very different sales model for a dealer. And so when you think about that, we have to rethink the retail, right? So we have to rethink the retail, because you won't walk past the store and see, 4 for 100 at MobileX, right? We just don't do that, right? Every single person is an individual in our minds. Every single person has a unique plan.
So is the sign going to say, we're going to help you build a plan today?
Well, it's basically going to probably say, how can we know what to charge you when we don't even know you? Which is basically what the carriers do right now. And the reason why they do that is because they just basically don't care who you are. They just want to make a certain amount of money out of you to fund their corporate jets. So they've just got these line items in their P&L that they need to cover. And so you're just a tick. So no, there are, when you do what we're trying to do, right, there are massive amounts of hurdles, right? And I've always said that there are a huge amount of hurdles. The bottom line is that the core product is going to be incredible for the consumer. It's getting that message out. It's going to be good for the retailer. Retailer's going to have to think differently about how they sell our product, because basically our product's going to sell itself. It's all done via a tablet. It's all done in the cloud. It's very simple. It's very easy. There's no, okay, I'm trying to sell plans. How do I sell this plan? How do I get this free phone? And so it's a very, very different model. And, as I said, it's going to be very hard for the competitors to come in and try to steal Dennis from us, because unless they know what Dennis is spending with us, what his usage is, they don't even know what to offer him. And so that's where I think we're going to have the success.
Peter, I got 2 questions for you, and this is one of them that you asked me to ask you.
Yep.
When do you plan to actually release something tangible so we can know what the product is?
Yeah, so I'm actually sick of reading my own tweets about this, by the way. So just so you guys know, it has taken us a little bit longer. If I was a betting man, I would be betting September as a launch. Again, if I was putting my own money down, I'm not saying
this year, September.
Yeah. So I would be doing that from a beta testing. We are in beta testing now. That we have a lot of people testing the platform right now. I will say that I am extremely excited about it, like beyond. And I think you guys know some of the guys that are helping us build this platform. And we have some of the smartest, and I know people say this, but we have some of the smartest tech guys, cloud tech, telecom guys in the industry helping us build this. And I think that it's now working. I will tell you that right now, that it is actually working. There are bugs in it, like everything, but we knock those bugs down very, very quickly. And I mean, if I see a bug, it's knocked down within 24 hours. It's not like 7 days. It's working. It's working better than I could have ever expected. I want to show people, but we want to make sure we have the stability of the platform that's there. So, but I can tell you, hand on heart, it's working. It's up and running. It's making calls. It's doing data sessions. It's doing predicting, machine learning, AI, all the stuff that we wanted this to do. It's doing, and it's doing it really, really well.
Peter, can I give you a challenge that
Sure.
you'll commit to after this show? Can you share one form of tangible, like a screen cap or something physical that everyone can see? Maybe it's a screen cap, but just the home screen of the app, just something that we can see, everyone in general, so we can get an idea, just to wet our beaks a little bit, so we can actually take a little glimpse at what this app experience is going to look like, or something.
I'll go one step further for you guys. I'll do it offline. I'll do a demo for you, right? But on the condition that you don't tell people what we're doing, but on the condition that you can be critical or you can be positive about the experience. But I don't want to let the details out. So you can say, yeah, I get it. What these guys are doing is great. I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. We will be bringing you guys on, by the way, on a beta test, probably within 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So we'll be opening up the beta test to more people. So we just wanted to make sure that, when we ping credit cards, that we have that right? So suddenly your credit's not getting dinged. There are a lot of factors that you need to put into it to make sure that works. But I actually showed an analyst the other day on the phone. I showed him it working up and running, and they were blown away. They were like, all right, okay, we get it. Again, challenge is getting it out into the marketplace. But I think if you look at Uber and you look at Airbnb and you look at some of the big brands, word of mouth is going to be critical for us. And so, especially when we're moving into a recession where the economy is going crazy, if people can save money on their wireless bill, and you got 3 or 4 people in the family, and you can save, good money on your bill by buying what you need, and then also being able to control that aspect of it. I think that's going to be. I think our timing's perfect when we're coming into the marketplace. But I will show you off camera what it looks like, and then you guys can just give your feedback without giving the specific details if you give me that promise.
I do give you that promise, and let me just say, Peter, I'm no stranger to NDAs, so you have my word.
Okay, perfect.
But Sneed, you're up to plate, man. Ask a question you want to ask.
I have a couple of them actually. So the first one, I want to give you some flexibility in this. I'm going to give you the ability to just have like a range. Multi-line, 4-person family. I know it really shouldn't matter, like looking at your business model. It's not like about, 4 lines you get a discount or anything like that, because it all depends on an individual line usage. So give me a range. 1 person, 1 line per month. What do you expect that person's bill to be on MobileX? Give me the high end, give me the low end.
I mean, that's the unique part about our platform, is that we can't do that, right? And it's by design that we can't do that, because we basically have to look at the individual, and that's why it's unique. It's customized. So Sneak, what you use and what I use is completely different. So to give a range, to try to put you and I in a range, would basically be a range that goes from 60 gigabytes, 80 gigabytes, 100 gigabytes, down to someone like me who uses 3, because I'm in Wi-Fi a lot of the time, right?
Let me expand on that real quick.
The range is too wide. That's the fundamental problem with the industry today, is they take Sneak, you and me, and they put us into one bucket, yet we're not even in that bucket. It's either too much for me, or too little for you. And then they force you into these higher up end plans. So it basically is going to come down to individual use. And the other thing is that you may use 1 or 2 gigabytes because you've gone to Hawaii and you're at the hotel and you're hanging out at the pool. And then the next month you might use 10 or 15. There's no dynamic change. Your usage is dynamically changing, but your price isn't dynamically changing.
Yeah, but Peter, let me expand on that real quick. So one thing that I love about what my electric company does, and it's rare for me to compliment my utilities, but one thing that I love is on my bill statements, they'll show my electric bill online. Like, they'll show what my electric bill is. They'll compare it to my historical electric usage from previous years with them. And then they'll also compare it to the electric bills of the average home in my actual area. So I can see how I stack up in my usage versus the average locals in my home versus the overall average usage, right? So I could be 50% lower than the average in my area, and maybe I'm like only 10% lower than the overall average of all the consumer base. With all the data that you're able to collect, especially with the AI platform that you talked about, you should, in theory, or at least I think it would be great if you implemented this if you haven't, been able to determine some level of like, this is the range that we see based off people in your age demographic, for example, or this is the type of data usage we typically see from your job role, for example, since you're going to know a lot of information about your consumers.
So but that's the secret of what we're doing. So when you sign up for MobileX, there's a period where you live while we learn, where we actually don't charge you, right? So you're basically living and learning. And our AI machine learning is basically looking at your patterns. The majority of people are pretty pragmatic, right, in what they do. Go to work, come home, do this. So it's pretty simple to be able to realize very, very quickly what you're doing. And that's the whole concept. At the end of that period, we actually present you with your customized plan, right? So yeah, I mean, that's the whole concept of what we're building. So we present you with that, right? And so you've now looked at that and went, okay, great, that's it. That's my plan. That's what I'm paying. And that's why I said it's so hard to me, because we were talking about this morning on our go-to-market strategy with our team. Everyone always defaults back to, we look at what is Mint doing and what is Metro doing and what is Boost doing, and well, Boost is doing nothing. But what are these other guys doing, right, in relation to their pricing? And you take Mint as an example, right, which has got some of the lowest pricing plans in the marketplace. So the first thing is we looked at our pricing compared to theirs, right? The first thing we got to remember is you got to buy 3 to 6 months of service. You can buy 1 day, 1 minute, 1 second from me and cancel it 1 second later and still get the best price possible. So I'm not discriminating against, I'm going to suck you in to buy a 12-month plan from me and I'm going to give you at this price, knowing that now I've got to, it's hard enough to guess what I'm going to use in a month. Now I've got to try to guess what the hell I'm going to use in 12 months. Right? I don't know. So we have that, right? So even our marketing team this morning, I had to convince them, I had to re-educate us again about like, hang on, guys, we're falling back into the comparison. And that's our biggest challenge of like people sitting back going, and then we talk about unlimited, right? Which I've been critical on, right? Absolutely critical. I sit there and go, I'll ask you guys, what are you getting that's unlimited? Are you getting a guaranteed speed? Are you getting guaranteed 100% coverage all the time? Like, you don't get an unlimited experience, right? Because the networks aren't built that way. So I'm sitting there and everyone goes, oh, well, what's your unlimited plan? I'm going, what do you mean what's unlimited plan? Speeds vary all the time. You guys do these tests all the time. You don't get a consistent speed across the network. You can stand in one area, get a speed, move 500 feet, 1,000 feet that way and get a completely different speed, right? So if I've got unlimited data, but I'm getting it at 50 megabits per second, or I move across here and it's at 1,000 or it's at 500, right? How is that unlimited? So what I care about as a consumer, I don't care about speed. I don't care about gigabytes because I don't even know what they are. Most consumers have no clue what a gigabyte is. They don't know what a megabit per second is. They have no freaking clue. They don't know what 4G is, 5G is, open RAN, closed RAN, upside down RAN. No one gives a shit, right? What they care about is the experience.
That upside down RAN.
What they care about, seriously, is they care about the experience, right? And if the experience is good and it does what I want it to do, then why do I give a shit about everything else? Like, why? And so the carriers have convinced you've got to talk about, unlimited. The other thing is also you're noticing that the pricing is going up on voice and text, right? Voice and text is covered in your plan. You do actually pay for that, right? It is not free. And you guys never talk about that, right? Because people have voice and text only plans that are $4 or $6, right? If unlimited talk and text is free, then why wouldn't they offer that for free? Because it's not. If you're an MVNO or a carrier, in fact, it's one of the most expensive parts of a network is delivering that voice and that text, right? That's an expensive part, which is why you see a lot of the 5G only carriers struggling with VoNR, the ability to be able to deliver voice over OTT, right? So because it's often a lot better to do it via data. The other things is fees and taxes is an example, right? They're charged on the voice and text, not on the data, right? So there's different things that consumers don't know that we're going to highlight and give you the option to be able to really be able to customize that. We'll customize it for you using machine learning AI if you don't want to bother doing it. But if you guys want to customize your own plan down to the kilobyte, down to the megabit per second, then you can do it. Have at it. It's all yours.
So Peter, the data pricing, is all data going to be treated the same? Meaning, tethering and hotspot, on-device usage, it's all the same.
A gigabyte's a gigabyte.
Okay, that's what I figured. I could tell from the way you're framing it that's the sense I was getting.
Hey, so Peter,
there's this belief that that MVNOs, I see these MVNOs out there with some of their pricing, and then a few months later they raise their pricing, right? I know what it costs to run an MVNO. I know what the gigabyte costs are. I know what the voice and text. So I look at these plans, I reverse engineer them and going, they need to have less than 10% to 5% of their base using those unlimited plans.
In order for them to make money, right?
Yeah. And once it gets too high, like you saw with US Mobile with their 70 gig, they basically start bringing in a cap because you can't use money. In fact, what I would do is through our living and learning process, if I see somebody using a massive amount of data, I will actually push them to US Mobile. That would be my gift to those guys because I do not want that customer. They can have them.
Hey, so Peter, one of the things you talked about when you were back on before, and you've been talking about a lot during this show as well, is about having this like network agnostic experience, right? The first question I want to ask is that going to limit the types of devices you're able to support on MobileX, or like how are you going to provide that experience knowing that not most devices can't be device agnostic, as you would put it?
Again, when you buy a device, right, consumers don't understand that, right? They don't understand that, oh, hang on, why am I not getting 5G? Well, it's because it's a 4G device, right? Why? And we're seeing obviously CDMA shutdown, which is making life a lot easier. So you have two customers that are out there. You have guys that understand and girls that understand like we do the network. And then you just have the consumer who bought a phone who just wants it to work, right? And so we're just going to connect those two dots. We're not going to get scientific. We're not going to, again, you will have the ability to drill down if you want to drill down and really create your own experience. But I think the majority of people are just going to go, you know what, give me the best experience. Video takes the most amount of data. We all know that, right? So video takes the most amount of data. Everyone defaults their video at 4K resolution. Okay, so you're burning the maximum amount of data. You're like, well, do I really need 4K? I mean, do I really need that? And so then you go, well, what if I could bring it down? Well, what's the data? We all know that the data comparison from 4K to 420 is massive, right? The data usage is massive. So there's a bunch of things that happen. And I just think people just want, you know what? Here's what I want to pay. Here's the experience that I want. And I don't care as long as it doesn't stop working, right?
So maybe...
Sorry, go.
Maybe I wasn't really clear. Like you made a big focus about being able to go to different countries and just use your phone however you want, right?
Yep.
But in order to achieve that experience, right, that seamless experience, that customer is going to need a fairly relevant current, probably an iPhone or like a Samsung or a Pixel. Like if they have something like, I don't know, an iPhone 6 from like forever ago, it might work fine in the US on, say, Verizon's network because band 13 is a thing, but it's going to be missing a lot of the bands that are incorporated and used across different places and not have a very good experience.
So so we have that problem now, right? So as an example, if you go over to America and you buy an iPhone 12 or iPhone 13 and you buy it and you get it cheaper than say you buy it in Australia, you come back to Australia and there's certain bands where it won't work, and so you could be in the country area and you don't have any coverage where the person right next to you on the exact same network. That's probably more rare than it is the norm. Most big, large cities, you'll be able to take your existing phone and be able to roam internationally. I think the roaming partners have kind of sorted that out. So it's rare that would happen, but I would argue that the majority of people won't have that problem.
Or let's focus domestically. Like, let's just say in the future you work out a deal with Dish, right? Charlie's brand new 5G standalone network. A lot of phones today aren't going to work well on Dish's network, if at all. So, like, how do you, like, is the solution to eventually sell your own phones that are certified to work with your network partners? Like, how do you ensure that consistent experience that you're targeting is what I'm going for here?
Yeah, I don't want to get too much into the platform and the network and the cloud network that we've built. Mm-hmm. But we are very, very unique when it comes to that. So think of a network as basically a network, right? With all the guts ripped out. And we're basically just using the core. So as we move forward, the one thing that we do need integration into our carrier global partners for our platform to work. And hopefully we'll be making some announcements shortly about some of the global carriers that we have signed up. So our platform does need a level of integration into the carrier that has never been done before. So as an example, when I talked about you leaving America, your MobileX phone will no longer be charging you in America, and you move to the UK as an example, well, bang, you just basically are now paying as if you're a UK resident, as if you've now got a local phone. There's no global roaming charges. There's nothing.
Because are you selling this internationally then?
Yeah, I mean, our concept is, if you look at the generation today, right, the next generation coming through, there are no borders, right? When they arrive in a country, you know what works? Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Netflix, Spotify, it all works immediately for them. The biggest complication for them is trying to find a network as it scrolls through, trying to locate which network am I going to put you on, O2, or the clumsiest part of those platforms is the connection piece. So if we can eliminate that, so when you arrive in the UK, you arrive in France, or you arrive in Spain, and you're already hooked up to that network. You're already basically operating as if you've been living in Spain for the last 15 years, and you've got a local phone experience. That's the key, right? And we think that that's what's going to deliver us a much better experience for the customer. So that's why I keep telling people, think of a platform as opposed to a traditional, because a traditional MVNO is a box in the network, right? Ours is in the public cloud. So we can basically move that around anywhere in the globe.
Also, Sneed, my bad, man. I could tell you're chopping. Go ahead, man.
All right, I got a couple of questions, Peter.
Sure.
Wearables and watches, are they a go?
Everything that's connected, doesn't matter. Wearable watches. And I would even go one step further to say that our platform allows other devices to connect. So we really don't discriminate
IoT?
against. Yeah, we don't discriminate against it at all. We'll take anybody's device.
Great. To follow up, how would you like to be paid? Would you like the auto pay customer? Would you like the prepay customer? Would you like the postpaid customer? How would you like to be paid, sir?
So I have the cash preferred, right? which we have. We have auto. We have, really, Sneed, you tell us. Like, I'm not going to tell you how to pay us.
I have Bitcoin. Will you take my Bitcoin?
You have Bitcoin?
I have Bitcoin.
Sure. I'll take it. I'll take your Bitcoin. I'll take anything, Sneed. Right at this point, I'll take anything. So, I won't take rubles, but I'll take
you
it.
in
you won't.
I'll pay you in Dogecoin. I'll pay you in Dogecoin.
Oh yeah.
Nobody's taking rubles right now.
No, not at all. So look, from our perspective, we're going to be agnostic when it comes to how you want to pay. We just want the flexibility for you to decide. There are people out there that prefer cash, so we're going to take the cash preferred. There are people that prefer auto pop, debit, credit. To us, it's really up to you to decide.
Go ahead, Sneed.
All right, so I think I kind of heard you poo-poo a little bit on the device payments, installments, purchasing phones. So you guys are going to focus on network as a service, obviously. I was going to ask about that and also the retail piece. Now, the one thing I wanted to ask was, if someone wants to evaluate retention, I get the impression that you guys are looking for long-term customers. I don't see you guys looking for the revolving door that is the prepaid industry. So I have friends who own Boost Mobile stores as dealers and Metro stores. The industry, the prepaid industry, the urban unlimited industry is broken. Like, you use that term. I can tell you I've seen it. People will go from store to store within a 60, 90-day period looking for a new phone, an upgrade, and they're rewarded for switching, which is strange. They don't reward the retention. So I'm looking at your platform, your business, the retention, right? I don't know if you guys are going to report. I mean, I don't know if you're going to publicly trade. I don't know any of that. But like, how important is that churn rate when you guys start looking at your success? Because what I want to know is, how does MobileX evaluate what is successful? Year one, year two, how many customers do you have? Are you retaining? Are people churning out? That sort of thing.
Oh, I mean, great question, because it really is critical. If you take Boost as an example, I think their churn's at 5.5%, which means that 80% of their base is leaving them every 12 months. Think about that for a second.
That's bad.
80% of the base is leaving them every 12 months. There's about 30, as I said, there's about 36 to 40 million customers every year that's churning out. See, they churn for a reason, right? And you just came through with a couple of the reasons. Price is one of the biggest aspects, right? And so they think they can get a better plan and a better phone somewhere else, they'll churn out. We have to make sure that we have the better price, that we don't give them a reason to leave us, right? And I think that that's the critical part for us. And I agree with you. The carrier metrics that have been built around gross ads, right? So if you look at when T-Mobile reports, when AT&T reports, the headline is 200,000, 100,000, 700,000. Oh, by the way, our churn was 3%, right? Or, and I sit back and I go, and then they got low churn, right? Which is great when you see people not leaving because they're happy with the product. So I will take, our measurement will be, obviously we've got 0 customers. So clearly we've got to have a gross ad target, which we've got. But our true metrics in 3 years' time will be exactly what you said. How many people are leaving us? And if they are leaving us, where are they going? Because I'm really interested in that. Now, one of the things that I've built in our platform is the ability for you to leave us really easily, right?
You've created a portal?
Very simple. In fact, I think I've made it too easy. But anyway, we made it really easy for you to leave. And here's the reason being is in that 10-day period, if we do not have a product or a service that saves you money, I will recommend somebody else to you. So if you're buying 100 gigabytes, right? I will more than likely recommend a Verizon unlimited plan and I will actually move you to that plan. Now, if you start out with MobileX and suddenly you're using more usage than we thought, and I say, hey, you know what, Steve, we don't have a price that saves you money, but these guys do. So why don't you go there? And would you like me to port you over there? And that's the element of trust that we will build with the consumer. Now, you're going to probably sit there and go, well, hang on, I actually like this experience. I like what these guys are doing. You know what, I'm going to stay where I am. Or you might say, you know what, that's great. So we're not about keeping you, adding free tacos and doing all this stuff for you to try to stay with us, right? We're just not into that. What we're saying to you is if there is a better plan and there is a way that you can save money and it's not MobileX, I will move you there.
So Peter, on the topic of trust real quick, how are you picking these recommendations for who you're going to move them to? Like, i.e., I'm not saying I don't trust you, Peter, but like, just think of it from the consumer. How do I know you don't have a special little behind the scenes deal where every customer you recommend to go over back to Verizon, you get a little kickback or something? Like,
yeah, because that's not our business model. Right? Our business model is not to be a sales agent for another carrier. Our business model is to save you money. We're moving you across to what we think could be the best plan. And by the way, that best plan could be Verizon. It could be AT&T at any given time, right? And so we're just going to move you across. And you know, at the end of the day, I mean, you guys do it, right? You know, over there at Compare, right? Where you compare prepaid plans and postpaid plans. We're just going to do it real time with the information you've given us. And, you know, if we can save you money, that's what we're all about. And, you know, I don't need to have every customer in the country to be successful, right? I used to have there's a certain segment we're going after, and we're going to focus on that segment. And if you come in and you're burning more than we can offer you, then we'll recommend you go to another provider and to save you money. And that's basically our model, right? Is basically, and that's how you build the trust over time.
go ahead, Sneed.
The 10-day period you just mentioned. So I think we just uncovered something. You're basically going to allow anyone who sees MobileX, hears about MobileX. Are you going to use a referral program? Are you going to have some kind of a promotion where you're going to encourage people to tell people about MobileX? Because we want to be a part of that. I don't know if you know, but like we like to uncover unique and special offers. And we like the energy that you have. And we want to see things like this succeed because we're sick of the same old, right? And, you know, being that you are approaching this from something that's more consumer friendly, you know, we want to know, are you going to be pushing promotional, you know, referral credits or referral, some kind of evaluation like, hey, refer a friend, you know, here's a discount on your monthly bill or something like that?
So my model for this company has basically, you'll see this in our pricing, is that there are no gimmicks. We are going to give you the best, lowest price that we possibly can provide, right? And so adding gimmicks to discounts and adding this and adding that means that I've got more margin than I should have, right? And so anyone who does a gimmick, anyone who doesn't offer you, so our model is very, very simple, and that is we are going to be the best price in the marketplace for you. And if we're not, go somewhere else. And so every time I offer, just so you know, and this is the part that people forget, every time I offer you something to do something, someone has to pay for that, right? When you get a free phone, someone is paying for that free phone, right? When you get those unlimited plans, someone is paying for those unlimited plans. It's the people that actually aren't using unlimited that are buying unlimited, right? So nothing's for free, right? Everybody has a gigabyte. The carrier has a minute, text, gigabyte, MMS price. They have it. They have to cover it. How they bundle that up and how they trick you into believing you're getting something when you're not actually getting it is all part of the magicians that run these pricing departments. We are straight up. There are no gimmicks. There is nothing, right? You get the best possible price. And when you see our pricing model of how we provide that, I think you'll get it. You'll go, all right, fine. So this concept of, well, what am I going to get? How am I going to do? It's like, no, the reason why I think you're going to tell Dennis about our product is because you care about Dennis is wasting his money with another carrier, not because I'm going to give you $20, right? So you're like, hey, Dennis, you're a friend. I don't want you to be spending more money than you should. I found this plan. Go use it, right? Yeah. So,
hey, so
we got to unbrainwash the brainwashed.
Yeah, but Peter, I have one really important question to ask here. How are you going to convince someone who's only paying $25 for unlimited everything, even if they don't use unlimited everything? It's $25. That's their bill every single month. How are you going to convince that person to switch to MobileX? Like, is the savings going to be that dramatic for them that it's going to be meaningful? Because if it's only like, say, $10 savings, they might just stick with unlimited because it's a consistent price point.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to stick if it's $10 a month. So $10 a month over 12 months is times 4 lines is quite a lot of money that you could basically, and especially with, we're seeing people working an extra hour and a half, 2 hours to basically just cover the gas prices to drive to work today. So we're in a very, very different environment. Maybe $10 is not a lot to you, but it is to a lot of people. Of course, if you're buying a $25 fake unlimited plan, and you're using 3 or 4 gigabytes, right? What we'll be able to save you is significant, right? Significant savings on that, and especially over the 12-month period. But again, those $25 unlimited plans, you and I both know are not unlimited.
Yeah, but you're missing the main important part of what made unlimited attractive in the first place. It's that I know my bill, regardless of how much I use, is going to be this amount. With your model, I might have a month where I only pay $10, but then my next month might be $40. And do you get what I'm saying? Like, is there going to be some mechanism in place, I guess, at the very least, where I can say, like, don't ever let bill go above this point? Like, when I reach this threshold, cut off data or something.
Yeah, we have, without getting too much into details, we have an optimizer button. And you basically hit optimizer, and that will meet what we've forecast for you to use that month. And then what we'll do is we will monitor and control that experience, right? And again, we can control that experience. We can monitor that experience. At any given time, you can override that if you want to override it. But most people will just leave it as a set and forget. People are fairly predictable in their usage, right? As an example, during COVID, when everyone was at home, our ARPU would probably be below $5, right? Because no one's using the network. No one's going anywhere, right?
And hey, Stetson's chiming in.
Stetson's jumping in. What's his question?
He asked, what do you hope the average monthly bill will be for MobileX customers? What do you hope it will be?
Well, we answered this. Obviously, Stetson hasn't been listening.
Well, you didn't say the price point. You didn't say
No, he answered this. I asked this question.
Yeah, he asked the question. And as I said, I don't know. We'll have to let you know what you're using, Stetson, in order to be able to answer that question. We are not being put into a bucket. We're not taking the existing model and trying to put us into a bucket. That's not what we do.
But the better question is, and I think the key word here is hope. What do you hope the consumer ends up paying? Like, what do you hope for?
I would love to see them pay 30 to 40% less than what they're paying today.
Okay, so a percentage of 30 to 40% lower. Okay,
that's what I would like to see them pay, based on their usage, which is basically 30 to 40% less than what they're paying for today.
Peter, what QCI is MobileX on the Verizon network?
We can't answer that, but I'm very happy is all I can say.
Okay.
So is there anything that you want to announce? I know when you DM'd me on Twitter, you said you had a big announcement for me, and we're kind of rounding out the show. Is there any big announcements that you want to give to my audience?
We have some things that we're going to announce over the next week or two that I think are going to be it's going to kind of start to set the tone of what we're doing. at MobileX, and I think it's going to give people a good insight into how we're building the business. But I will say, even just talking to you guys, who are probably the most educated gentlemen in the space, and that's why I love what you guys do. By the way, I think you're the future, in my opinion, of where consumers are going to go to get their information, right? And right now they're going to the carrier to get their information, and that's a huge mistake, right? Because they've basically got a hidden agenda. So anytime I can get on and promote or be on shows like what you guys are doing, and you truly do care, like you don't own a network, you're not making margin off, what T-Mobile sells or what Verizon sells or what AT. You care about what the consumer wants, right? And I think that's basically where we are. I want you guys to be as critical on our platform, and I know you will be. I won't get it right all the time, and I know that you guys will jump down our throats, but know that we are listening, and that we will continue to try to get better. But it really, just hearing you guys talk, because you always go back to the traditional thinking, right? Of, well, how much is the monthly bill going to be, right? And how are you going to compare against an unlimited plan? And I'm sitting back there going, well, hold up for a second, because we all agree that the majority of people that buy those unlimited plans actually aren't using unlimited, right? That the average usage per gigabyte changes. We've also probably agreed that gigabyte usage has a lot to do with what you're doing, whether you're doing it in 4K or whether you're doing it in 720 or 10. A lot of that's got to do with that, right? Then you've also got the speed, right? Everyone says, well, I'm going to throttle you down to 2G, right? Well, why? Why do you have to stop me down to 2G? Because I don't want you to use the network anymore, because I opened the pipe up, gave you full fettered access to the pipe, and then I just shut it off. Well, what if I opened it and just opened it up a little bit to give you the experience you want, and you're not burning through all that gigabytes of data? But you know what? I don't want to manage that, right? The carrier has to manage that for me. Well, they're not going to manage that. They want you to burn as much gigabytes as you possibly can. Their incentive is to get you to go up and up and up. So if you have a platform that's designed to help you get the same experience by moving things around, speed, network, video quality, and your experience is as good, then why wouldn't you buy that? And so that's the experience that we want to provide.
Hey, Peter, so there's a lot of comments coming in about the vagueness, which I understand about, but this is an area where you would know that I'm very critical on with every telecom company at the moment. I think they're all terrible, and that's security. Can you at least share with us some detailed steps that you're taking to help prevent things like SIM swapping from happening, to ensure that your employees don't fall victim to phishing attacks? Can you talk a little bit about the security aspect real quick?
Yeah, I think when you build something in the public cloud, you do give yourself a lot more security. So we're comfortable that the way we've architectured the platform, and by the way, I'm not the smartest guy in the world to talk about this, so I don't want to tell you something, Dennis, and then you turn around and go, Peter, you're full of shit. But I will say this, that it is absolutely critical to us and the team, and the fact that we're in the public cloud does give us a huge amount of protections of people's personal information. I'm with you on that, right? I think security is absolutely critical to the success of any brand. Keeping that information. As an example, if we go through the 10-day learning period or less, right, whatever it takes us to learn, and you do not elect to go with us, all the information that we've collected to enable us to be able to look at your usage, the reg up plan, is gone, deleted. I don't keep any of it. It's basically wiped out. So if you don't go with us, if you leave us, what also leaves us is all your data. It's gone. We wipe it out. We just basically clean the slate and say, Dennis is gone. We don't retain, keep. You won't be getting anything from us. You won't be getting an email going, hey, by the way, Dennis, how are you going over there at T-Mobile? None of that. You're gone. and we will delete all the information. I've got things in there where I don't want people to know what I'm doing on the network, right? I'm happy for you to know what gigabyte I'm doing, but I don't want to know the URL that I'm going to, right? So there's a lot of this that I think that you just want the peace of mind to say, you know what? That's it. It's gone. It's one of the reasons why Snapchat works so well for young kids, right? It's because it's gone, right? Whatever they put up is gone. And they love that feeling. And so I think that next generation coming through is probably more critical. You guys are obviously young, but that next generation, the generation that's coming through with you guys, is more critical about retaining and holding data. So we that's important for us.
Okay.
Peter, can I ask another thing?
Yeah, sure.
I would love a simple yes or no question with no elaborations. I legit just need a yes or no. Is there anything else in the works between MobileX and Verizon outside of it simply being an MVNO agreement? I'm talking technology, data sharing, partnership. Is there anything else outside of just simply MVNO? Yes or no?
I would love to answer the question as a yes or no answer, but you can't. From a technical perspective, we're doing something very, very different with Verizon than a traditional MVNO. So the answer is yes. From a technical network architecture perspective, yes. From a partnership experience, I look at every MVNO that's on Verizon as a partnership, right? So whether it's us or US Mobile or anybody else that's on Verizon, I think that that's a partnership. And then thirdly, are they doing things? Are they being innovative? Are they the old Verizon that we knew? No, they're not. They are a new, innovative, technology-driven network provider that I have not seen in a long, long time, including our friends over there in Seattle. So it's a very different experience that we're having with Verizon as other MVNOs have with their other partners. So 3 ticks there.
Can you tell us about the 10-day period, how this is going to work, day 1 to day 10?
It could be less, right? Depends on who you are. And so the whole concept of machine learning AI, right, is basically to look at the patterns. And if the patterns are basically predictable pretty quickly, they can come to it in less than 10 days. We give 10 days as our maximum window. So it really is going to be customized down to the individual based on how fast and how quickly we can learn that information. If there's other things that we can get from you to help us understand your usage, then that's something that we'll be providing. You'll be providing to us to be able to come through that. So we can, we can learn pretty quickly, but again, it's 1 to 10 based on what the machine learning AI, it'll get it 90 to 95% accurate, we believe.
Go ahead, Steve.
Oh, I get to keep going?
Yeah, man. I want you to. You're asking great questions. As long as Peter's cool with it.
No. Look, what are we? Yeah, no, I got a little bit more time. So.
Yeah, I'm excited to see whatever you're willing to kind of like share with us in terms of the demo or whatever you can allow us to see. But I mean, I think a lot of what we have to kind of remember. I mean, because what Peter's trying to do here is everybody keeps asking about pricing, and I can see you're trying to steer people's minds away from that. That's going to be tough, So I think you're whatever signage, advertising, and branding, all that stuff that you're going to do. Which by the way, I'm still away from my hoodie. But when it comes
Your address.
I'm in Cleveland, so we need hoodies, man.
Yeah,
well, I need a MobileX beanie.
Yeah, we've got those as well. We have a whole marketplace, which I haven't even talked to you guys about inside the app, which is freaking. The marketplace, by the way, inside the app is incredible. I mean, we're gonna have the ability for you to be able to trade your phones amongst MobileX customers, right? I mean, I won't get into, but we've got. It's not just your traditional MVNO. We have a whole marketplace that we're building, a whole e-com system that we're building for customers to be able to. Why should Apple be able to buy your iPhone off you for $300 and sell it for $500, right? We know who you are, right? Because you're a customer of ours. So we know that the IMEI number and the SIM number and everything else. We know that the phone is not a stolen phone. So why can't Dennis go sell his phone to Sneak, right? And make a margin. So we put a whole marketplace concept internally for extra devices and refurb phones. Anyway, I won't get into that, but I think it's going to be interesting. But I agree with you. Everybody always defaults back to the current industry and pricing today. So our biggest challenge is that. But I think that once people see how we've done it in the app, once they see how easy it is, how we've been able to do all the hard work for them. Again, when you walk into a store today, the first thing the person asks you is, how much data do you use? Right? That's the plan they're going to put you on. You don't know, right? I don't know how much data. Okay, well, fine. Let's put you on the unlimited because I reckon you might be using a lot. But I don't know. Doesn't matter. Put you on unlimited anyway. Off you go. You feel good now, right? You feel comfortable. You're never going to go over. No, I'm never going to go over. I'm paying $50 a month or $45 a month when I basically use, a classic example. The other day I had someone who was on a Magenta Max plan, right? And I asked him to pull up the data usage. Him and his wife, right? It was the end of the 28 days or 29 days into the month. I said, pull up the data usage for me. And they went, okay, fine. They pulled it up. His wife was at 1.2 gigabytes and he was at 2.1. Right? I'm like, this guy's not watching YouTube videos. He's not doing speed tests, right? And I'm sitting there and he's basically watching stuff at home when he's out. There's somebody that we could save a significant, and it's why do they pay it? Because they don't know. You don't know what they don't know, right? They've just been told that they have to buy this plan because they walked into a T-Mobile store. So if we can help educate them to say, you don't need to be spending that much money based on your usage. That's a positive for the consumer. By the way, it's not a positive for us, just as an FYI, or the industry, because the average revenue per user is going to fall significantly under my plan, right? If you're charging somebody for stuff that they're not using and now you're starting to charge them for what they are using, the average revenue per user is going to fall significantly, right? And that's going to happen, right? And so I think we're going to have a lot of people that are going to come at us, the industry are going to come at us to try to make sure that we don't succeed in getting that message out there. Because if you think about it, if the ARPU started falling for these big carriers, right, to the level that they started only charging people for what they use, their business models and their ROIs, they're going to get very, very tough to be able to justify.
I think you'll know that you have arrived when, somebody mentions your company name at a T-Mobile earnings report. I
got some marketing plans for my friend Mike over there in Seattle that he's going to absolutely love.
So I gotta ask, I think they put the biggest target on their back. They are very, very active when it comes to marketing, advertising. I mean, I can sift through a lot of that stuff. I don't think most consumers can. I think they start getting beat in the head with some of it, and they start buying into it. Like I was looking at some of these surveys, and it was like 2 years ago. I think it was 2020 numbers, and Verizon had the highest rated perceived 5G network. It was like 41% or something like that of the survey. That number has decreased over the last couple of years, and it's increased for T-Mobile. And what does it mean to the consumer? But I do think that beating, that constant message, the conditioning, that stuff has worked for them. Whether or not they have the better 5G network, they're just gonna advertise it down people's throats.
Remember, so the real research that matters there is how many people would switch because of 5G, and that's very, very low, right? So
the answer to that is nothing. They don't.
Yeah, it's not, and that's again the industry going out there and basically realizing they have nothing, so they may as well hang their hats on something, which is 5G, right? Which gives them more excitement and more experience, probably a better experiential experience for the customer. But you guys can do this. Like, you don't need to be a qualitative or quantitative research company. Just go ask 10 people in the street, how much data do you use a month? I guarantee you 9 out of 10 won't know the answer. And the one guy that does is full of shit. The second one is, then ask them, how much do they pay per month? All up, taxes, fees, access fee, all the other things on their bill. They won't know. They'll give you an approximate number. In fact, they'll rarely won't even know. They'll be like, I think it's 100. Is it 85? I don't know. So just so I'm clear, you're paying that you don't know how much you're paying for a service. You don't know how much you're getting. No, that's right. Okay, well done, you guys. That's awesome.
Yeah, but everybody gets mad about gas prices. They know exactly what they're paying for fuel.
The carriers have convinced us not care. Don't worry about it. We got your back. It's all right. We've got unlimited. You're going to be safe. You're going to be good. Oh, by the way, we've got a tax. We've got a fee. We're now adding this other fee on, which the carriers have just now added. Verizon says they've added this fee. T-Mobile bashes them up saying we're fixed pricing, but then T-Mobile has a different fee, but it's the same but different. And it's just confusing. They have spent their whole lives confusing consumers. And you guys, you and I both know, how can you have 200 unlimited plans? How is that even possible? Like, it's unlimited. Like, how do you have two? I tell people this. You can't use unlimited anywhere else outside of America with the terms and conditions that American carriers put on the consumer. You can't use the term unlimited. In fact, a carrier tried to use it in Asia Pacific and Australia and got sued and ended up paying $10 million, right? T-Mobile, AT&T, I think in 2019 got a $60 million fine, right? So what they do is they get a $6 million fine because they basically said it was unlimited, but then they throttle, right? So now they add the little clause in at the bottom to cover their asses, right? Still the same bullshit, but now they've added a clause. The lawyers said, don't worry, add this clause in, trick the customer into believing that they're getting unlimited, but cover your ass by putting this clause into your fair use policy, right? It's just a scam, and it's time that we ended it, right?
Hey,
and
Pete,
I'm doing this for that reason.
Pete, can we do a quick little history recap?
Yep.
Your roots in the U.S. mobile industry go back. All right, they're deep. Why did you sell and get out of the U.S. mobile industry, and then why did you come back? What inspired you to jump back in?
It's a good point. People always ask me why, I complain about the mergers and selling assets, but yet I sold Boost, right? So,
no. I'm not.
No, it's a legitimate question, by the way, and I want to address it. So when we first came across to the US to launch Boost, right, I was young, full of excitement, energy, and not very good on the details, right? And so what had happened was we went and put together a deal with Nextel to basically build out the Boost brand, and we had autonomy to go away and do it. They allowed us to go build it, and they said, let's build this business and let's make this business big. I had a lawyer that was handling the contract for us with Nextel, the relationship with the Nextel, and we didn't do a very good job on that. In fact, we gave ourselves very little wriggle room. So what happened was, as Boost started to skyrocket, right, we required more capital. And in order for me to be able to go get more capital from private equity firms, we didn't realize that Nextel had to give us approval for that, right? That was one of the mistakes that we had made. So what had happened was, every time we went in to get money, Nextel, they would look at that and go, well, that's a stalking horse. So no one would provide the capital or the valuation because it was basically Nextel had first and last right of refusal. So what had happened was we basically didn't have the ability to be able to grow that business unless Nextel. So Nextel basically squeezed us.
Wow.
And so, again, that was a learning from me, that we basically, made that error. And so, they bought us off us and we did well. And we, my opinion is we did more than we ever thought I would ever be as far as successful. But we basically had created ourselves handcuffs that we couldn't get out of. And so I went out of the industry, and I've been doing a lot with the industry and obviously with Digital Turbine and other things in and about the industry. And I've always kept the Boost business outside of the US. I always looked at a window in time, and I really did not want to start another MVNO. I'll be honest with you. I think it's a dead-end, shitty business model, to be totally honest with you. I think it is hard work. If you look at a lot of the MVNOs, they've been at it 10 years, and they got maybe they're proud of themselves because they got 100,000, 200, 300,000 customers, right? Look at Consumer Cellular, which started in 1996, right, during the Telecoms Act. And they got 4 million customers, probably 2 million, because half of them are, the husband's bought it for the wife. So you don't see these massive scale in MVNOs, right? And an MVNO that starts promoting a lot of money on advertising, basically starts to lose money. So it's not a great model. What led me to do what I'm doing is I spent 2 years fighting the DOJ and the FCC during that whole merger, right, to get Boost to maintain its independence. It went to Dish, which was a mistake, but it still got to maintain its independence. And it was just through that, in talking to dealers, talking to consumers, that I quickly realized that we'd have to break up the industry. So what we have and what we have built, and I said this, by the way, when I was negotiating with our carrier, it took us 18 months or more to negotiate, because I kept saying, no, I'm not doing it unless I can do it this way. Unless I can make a difference, I'm not doing it. And so we'll try to give a disruption in the marketplace, but I can assure you that I wasn't looking to start another MVNO. Again, I think it's a dead-end business model. And again, I think the growth is slow. So unless you have something that's disruptive, that saves consumers a lot of money and puts the power back into their hands and takes it away from the carrier, I wasn't interested. And I think that what you'll see when we launch the product is exactly that. And I think that without that, I wouldn't be doing it. I'll be honest with you. I'd be, doing something else.
So how big do you see your potential consumer base then? And goal? Do you see yourself like 2% of the whole entire U.S. market, like 3%? Like, where do you see yourself falling in at?
I mean, even if we go to 3%, we've got millions of customers, right? So
you'd be at 30 million customers.
Yeah, look, for me, if we're sitting here in 3 years' time and 4 years' time, and I'm letting you know that I've got 200,000 subscribers, no, I won't be sitting here, right? So, to me, it's got to be in the millions. We've got to see millions of people saving money with our platform in order for me to be successful. We built Boost. In the first year when we launched Boost, I had a number for Nextel, which I gave them, and the sales guy looked at me and he said, "There's no way in the world, Adderton, you'll ever hit that number." I said, "I'll make you a deal, mate." He goes, "What's that?" I
Peter,
said,
your good friend Roger chimed in. Do you know
Oh
Roger?
my God, you guys are still talking. Exactly, Roger. Roger talks all the time. What's he talking about?
Hey, Roger, I just wanted to shout you out. It's good to see you, man. Thank you for catching the stream.
Hey, Raj, friend of the show, man.
Yeah, no, I love that guy. He's more upfront than I am, if that's even possible. So, from our perspective, as I said, it's got to be something different, unique, and that's what we want to do. And we'll have a massive swing at it. And if it works, fantastic. If it misses the market, then at least we tried.
Well, I don't know about you, Steve. Do you have any more questions before I do my last little question for Peter?
Peter, will you promise to come on to either my show or Dennis's show when there is something that you would like to announce? Like, we want to be the first ones to give you a platform and then update our subscribers, viewers, and supporters about positive progress at MobileX. Will you come on soon?
Well, yeah, I'll absolutely come on anytime you guys want me. But I will say this, that I will give you a walkthrough of the app, of the experience, and get your feedback. And then I will allow you to say, I've seen it. What these, obviously the NDA is going to be put. I've seen it, and he's not full of shit. So.
Okay, and then here's my question for you, Peter. You have one sentence. That's it. No expanding upon it. One sentence to tell us and the audience what we should take away from this whole conversation today. What do you want them to remember and reverberate to the rest of their friends about MobileX? One sentence. Go.
Don't continue to listen to the bullshit from the other carriers and start using the brain that God gave you and look into it.
Okay. Well, guys, thank you all for listening. Peter, I want to thank you for spending so much time. I know you stayed over, but I appreciate it. And Sneed, thank you for coming on as well with the great questions. This is the end of the show. I'm going to say peace.